What's going on, YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and we are taking a look today at the two teams in the Pacific. Yes, the Seattle Kraken and the Vancouver Canucks. The border rivalry between Vancouver and Seattle is more apparent than ever now that we have two National Hockey League teams battling up against each other. They might not just be battling each other on the ice, though. There's been rumors that this summer they could be very aggressive in terms of free agency, in terms of making trades, making some acquisitions to change up the roster. So we're going to go over that today. So we're going to start off, we're going to split this into two parts. So the first part is going to be the Vancouver Canucks side of things, and then the second part we'll go over the Kraken. So we're going to start off in Vancouver. The Vancouver Canucks, the latest has really been about JT Miller. That's where we're starting our video today. And this is from John Shannon. Rumblings say JT Miller is at the top of the Canucks trade list to open up cap space. This doesn't come necessarily as a surprise, but you would have expected them to trade him at the deadline. Again, you were probably going to get the most for him then. So what's changed from now to then that all of a sudden, he went from we're not looking to trade him to now they are looking to trade him? Kind of seems like they're playing a little bit of cat and mouse here with JT Miller's value, right? Because when they don't want him anymore, maybe a team thinks they could get him for less. Maybe that's not going to be the case at that point. You also have to remember now the Canucks out of the playoffs. So they were pushing for the playoffs at the end of the regular season this year, right? So, that wouldn't have looked great if they did trade him. So it does make sense why things kind of fell the way they did with JT Miller, but it does look like that is still on their radar, is to inevitably trade right now their number one center. So this is also from Elliot Friedman. The Canucks have tried to see if there is a market for defenseman Oliver Ekman-Larsson. The problem with OEL is he's getting paid a lot of money. He's getting paid a lot of money for a long time. And I think that's the biggest hurdle that you're going to see for the Vancouver Canucks. They're giving this guy a lot of money. And you look at the Canucks, they have the sixth highest payroll in the National Hockey League. And they did not make the playoffs. You look at Oliver Ekman-Larsson's contract, and that's really where things get a little bit hairy, a little bit ugly. He still has another 5 years on this contract. It ends in the summer of 2027, and it's a no movement clause. So, full no movement clause, $8.25 million per season. It does have a signing bonus that kicks in July 1st. He's going to get $5.25 million. I'll take that $5.25 million if you want to give it up, OEL. And in the final year of the deal, it's a $9.25 million. Oh no, never mind. This is the last signing bonus on his contract. So I think if the Canucks do decide to trade a guy like Ekman-Larsson, you do have to get rid of that. Of his current situation, that signing bonus. The thing is, his contract's still a little weird. So his base salary is going to be $10.5 million in 2 years from now, 2 seasons from now. And then it starts going down from there from 8 to 5.25 the last 2 years. So that's when it's going to be the easiest to trade him, is those final 2 years. Other than that, it is going to be quite difficult to move him in terms of money paid out. So again, I think the signing bonus may have something to do with that. Maybe a team's more interested after that $5.25 is paid out. But keep an eye on Oliver Ekman-Larsson this summer. He's a guy that could end up getting traded. And this is also from Elliot Friedman. The Canucks are anticipated to be a very aggressive team this offseason. Again, no real surprise for the Canucks. They've got new management there behind the bench. They've got Jim Rutherford, Patrick Alvin, just a totally different group there in Vancouver. So I would not be at the slightest bit surprised if we saw some changes to this roster. And you look at some of the things that are coming this offseason. They have to re-sign Juha Lomika, Matthew Highmore, and of course Brock Besser. That's going to be the number one agenda for their forward group. And then things next year get a little bit weird too. You have to re-sign Bo Horvat and JT Miller. They can sign extensions July what is it, July 15th this year, the first day of free agency, they could sign extensions. That's how quickly things are progressing with the Horvat and Miller situation. The Canucks are running out of time there. And when you consider the Canucks' potential cup window, does it make sense? If you're going to trade JT Miller, why are you going to keep Bo Horvat, right? Both those guys are similar age range. They're, in the back half of their prime, 27, 29 years old, right in the midst of it. Do they want to go through a rebuild and a retool in Vancouver? Probably not. And the Canucks could probably get some pretty good assets for those players. The thing is, though, the big storyline would be trading their captain, Bo Horvat. So that's going to be kind of interesting. You also have to re-sign, not really key guys, but you have some guys, depth guys like Luke Shen, Travis Dermott, Kyle Burrows. And again, just when you think that's it, the year after that, 3 years from now, you're going to give Petey a big extension. Elias Pettersson is up, Tanner Pearson, Jason Dickinson, and Tyler Myers' money comes off the books. So that's actually going to help the Canucks, I think. You wonder if, speaking of Tyler Myers, is he a guy you consider moving as well? He does have a no-trade clause just to add some more difficulty to that potential. Same thing for Tanner Pearson. He's the only forward on the list that has a no-trade clause. They also have a lot of guys on the LTIR. Are they going to buy out the final year of Michael Furland? He's making $3.5 million, one more year on that deal. They just signed Tucker Poolman. I could have told you on day one. Everybody told me I was crazy for saying Tucker Poolman is a good player and this and that. It doesn't look so great right now. So that's kind of what you're looking at there. That is the Canucks side of things. A lot more selling, I think, for the Canucks. A lot more getting rid of some guys that are pending UFAs. We don't have the money to re-sign them, so we're going to have to move them. I think it's going to be very interesting what happens there in Vancouver. Moving on to the Seattle Kraken. This is also from Elliot Freeman. The Kraken are expected to be very aggressive in free agency. And that makes sense. You talk to, you listen to the Ron Francis interview, press conference at the end of the regular season, and he made it pretty. You look at this roster, there's not enough scoring punch. You do have a guy like Eberle. You saw a little bit of Matt Beniers at the end of the season. Jared McCann scored, but you'd like to see, again, he had career high numbers, Jared McCann. So he was probably one of the best, he was one of the bright spots of this team this year, but you'd like to see a little bit more scoring depth. Whether that's from a Philip Forsberg or a Riley Smith or a Kevin Fiala, they need a guy that could come in there and come in and make a difference. They do have a lot of cap space, so they could utilize that to their advantage. And you even look at, even going to teams around the league. Say you'll call Montreal, right? Hey, you know what? We'll take Mike Hoffman. He's a scorer, right? But you got to retain. We'll take the salary, but you got to give us some draft picks. Same thing for the Islanders. The Islanders may look to get rid of a guy like Josh Bailey. He would be a pretty nice guy to add in there. So again, and you're probably going to help the Islanders out, you might get a good draft pick from that player as well. So as much as I think they'll be active in the free agent market, expect them to be active in trades as well. I think they're going to try and alleviate teams of their cap issues, but it's going to cost them. And I think the Seattle Kraken are more than willing to take on bad contracts. Well, I don't want to say bad contracts, but take on some salary relief for, like they did last year for a Jordan Eberle, this year Josh Bailey, Kevin Fiala in Minnesota. You're looking at those kind of guys on their blue line. Their blue line actually looks decent, but again, if you could add another defenseman there, I think that would be huge for them. Goalies, I think they're looking at more of the goalie coaching side of things. They fired their goalie coach. Expect Grubauer and Drieger to be back next year. I don't see much changing there. But they could add a defenseman, definitely. Alexiak and Larson is not a terrible top pair, but it's definitely not going to make the playoffs, especially when that's your healthy group. You need a defenseman, and you need that scoring punch. You could even make the argument they need some center help. They've got some guys. They have Gord, Beniers, Wenberg, and Geekie, but I'd like to see more quality centers there. And it's not a knock against guys like Geekie and Wenberg, but you want to see, in retrospective, Yanni Gourde's the first line center. He was the third, fourth line center on the Tampa Bay Lightning. So just to give you that perspective of it, when you're looking at the ceiling, the fact he was the first line center does leave you wondering a little bit what's kind of the strategy there. Seattle's going to be very different from Vancouver. They're going to be the team taking on salary, looking to improve the roster, get a little bit better each season. And Dave Haxtell kind of mentioned that in their, the postseason interview, press conference. It's more about the future. They want to get progressively better, but yes, I do think getting a goal scorer is going to make a big difference for them. They need more consistent goals. As good as guys like Chris Tanev were, and Jordan Eberle for that matter, they need more. They need more high talent in that area. So expect them. Like I said, I'm mostly looking at guys like a Riley Smith or Fiala, or even Philip Forsberg, if that's even in the equation. I would definitely be kicking the tires on that to see where that goes. But let me know what you guys think. Comment section down below. For the Vancouver Canucks side of things, who do you think they're going to trade out to shed salary? Is it going to be Oliver Ekman-Larsson? Is it going to be Bo Horvat, JT Miller? And for the Seattle Kraken, who do you think they're going to add for that scoring punch? Who would you like to see them add, right? Kevin Fiala, Josh Bailey, even guys on the open market like a Riley Smith. What's the kind of guy you would like to see the Kraken add? Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.